Howdy folks. In today's video we'll go ahead and do an update review as we're approaching the 1 year mark of this e-bike. So far it is my starter and only bike that I had over the last year, and we just crossed the 2,352 miles. So I wanted to do a quick update on this in case anyone was wondering, because I did have a couple of questions, so I'll make a video out of it. We'll talk about my experiences with it so far, and then also some of the components that I had to replace. Again, given the 2,300 or so miles, some components obviously had to be replaced. The main thing, or the first thing rather I should say, I had to replace the steer tube. That's what goes into the fork, and I also had to replace the Quill stem riser. That's what attaches to the handlebar. On the old bike it was one piece, but it was getting loose over time no matter how much I was tightening it, so I ended up replacing this. Then I also had to replace the seat tube post, and as well as the seat as well. While we're at it, just get a more comfortable one for extended rides. It makes it much easier and better for your caboose. So those were the two things that I had to initially replace. Over time, I did end up replacing the front brakes caliper as well, not just the brakes, but the caliper with the brakes as well. I wanted to test out a newer-ish technology. This is a cable-assisted hydraulic brake. I do wish that this bike had hydraulic brakes to begin with. It wasn't, but again, it's not bad. Again, for a starter bike, that's acceptable. But for my next e-bike, I do want hydraulics. So in the front, I went with hydraulic cable-assisted hydraulic brakes to see if it helps. I'm still on the fence with that. We'll see. On the rear, this is my third tire. On the front, this is my second tire. The third tire, obviously given the mileage, just has to be replaced. The tread is different in the front versus the back. The back is more aggressive because I am doing a fair amount of dirt road or gravel road kind of riding versus in the front. I still have the original brake caliper and the brakes on the rear side of the bike. I think the brakes are getting to a good wear point that probably within the next 3-4 months I'll probably need to replace those as well. One issue I'm currently troubleshooting is that every few hundred miles the bolt that is holding the left crank arm pedal does get loose, and I have to keep tightening it, and then a few hundred miles later it does get loose again. I am trying to go ahead and use Loctite, but it still gets loose over time, so we may have to do more troubleshooting on that front. The pedals, the reflective plastic pieces in all of them stripped over time, got lost, broken, etc. So right now I have applied yellow reflective tape in those places, and that seems to work. No issues there. The next major component I will be replacing is going to be the gears. The back gears, the smallest cog, you'll see the teeth are just worn off in a couple of places, completely worn, almost all worn off. In other places, getting worn off pretty well. And then also the chain will need to be replaced as well. So the smallest gear, the smallest cog is where I'm at 99% of the time, and obviously due to that wear, that explains it. So it, given the mileage, that's understandable. What essentially happens now, if you're in that gear, you're going to get a pretty big jolt when you're trying to push for more power, when you're trying to, go up a hill, or you need a little more energy there, and you're going to get the jolt because it's essentially going to skip. The chain is going to skip and gives you that jolt where the teeth are just not big enough at this point. They're worn down. So if you have a smooth ride and that happens, it's no longer as smooth of a ride, and that free wheel with the gears will be replaced again along with the chain. And I've done a pretty good job at keeping the chain lubricated and everything, but again, giving the amount of mileage, that's understandable. The motor works really well. The 500 watt rating I think is very adequate to the trails where I'm at, and even at steep grades, bumping up the assistance, of course, it is able to handle steep grades really well. Very happy with this. I thought maybe I would have issues on my very first e-bike, but 500 watt motor does really great job. Very happy, great results. Uphill, I just bump it up for a bit more assistance if I want to, and it works just fine. Never had any issues or any problems with this. So again, for an entry-level e-bike, very happy with those results, and no regrets whatsoever. The computer is nice, it's basic, but it has all the needed functionalities displayed. It will always give you the speed. It will always give you the assistance level you're in. 0 means nothing, 5 it's at the maximum. And then you can cycle through your odometer, your maximum speed, and then the trip distance since the last time you reset it. In my case, I reset it every single time I charge the battery, so then I know how far or how much mileage I have on every single charge. But it works, it's great, relatively simple to use, love it. The light, it's nice, it's bright. It just doesn't go quite as far as I would like, but that's not a problem because I have my own light, even though it's nowhere near as bright. It's a AA, kind of two AA batteries there, but it has a nice beam that I can focus it further out. So using both in pitch black conditions is perfect. If you're not going to use it in pitch black conditions, that light is perfectly fine and usable as is without any additional light. But because it is super hot here in the summers where I'm at, oftentimes I'm riding in the evening, coming back when it is pitch black, and on trails like this in the open space where there is just no lighting whatsoever, having both lights I find helps. But even with one light, if you don't go as fast, you're fine. The front fork, I do have the full suppression enabled. I don't want to lock it out or anything, but even when it's full dampening effect, I still get a fair amount of vibration. Not horribly bad, but even on smooth trails, I would expect the front fork to be a little bit better. Again, I have very little to compare it to other than my old mountain bike that wasn't an e-bike, but that was a completely different animal, so it's not fair to compare. Here, if I'll turn off camera vibration, you can see that I'm on a smooth trail, and you are getting a fair amount of vibration periodically. The trail is, again, relatively smooth, but it does have its bumps as well. I'm not going to say it's 100% smooth. Off trail, I'm riding quite a bit, maybe 25-30%, meaning that on unpaved trail, I should say, because I split my riding between bike lanes, paved trails, and then off trail or dirt road trails. So based on that, the dampening, the minimum vibration that you still get, I think for that it is acceptable, understandable, no issues there. Bicycle mileage, again, it's rated, what, 52, 54 miles. I am getting that. In fact, over time, I was thinking the battery is getting better or I'm just becoming a better rider. So I can do 65, 70 miles. Again, you have to plan accordingly. Don't abuse the assistance. But if you use minimal assistance, you can get even more mileage than this. And it is realistic. But to get the comparison to compare to initially when I was starting to ride, I'd use more assistance and I would get again up to that 50 miles or so. Normally I would plan my trips so that by 45 miles or so I will still have some charge left. I never want to deplete the battery completely. Over the last year, again, given the mileage, I think that speaks volumes. No regrets at all, and I'm hoping that I get to do another review in the future and looking for more mileage out of it. Thanks everybody watching. Have a great day.